correction from the last video when I was talking about choosing between two equally unideal situations, and I said that I felt like one of the choices that I had to choose between, it was like a bait and switch, and there was some invisible fine print. I stand corrected on that. Well, I'm going to tell you what it was, and then I'll go back and explain everything. So today is Saturday, October 25th, and next Friday, October 31st, will be my last day at my current job. And I know y'all probably like, girl, you are going through some jobs, right? And my cousin, he had posted on social media a month or so ago, and he was saying how with this economy and everything is going on with the current administration, don't job hop and everything like that. And I understand his point. We are living in some uncertain times, some unsettling times, but I couldn't let that stop me from making a move that I felt like was better for my family. So let me explain. And y'all know I'm not a job hopper, but it would appear that way because since 2022, I left one job in 2022, and since then I've had 3 jobs, and I'm about to be on the 4th. And just this year alone, from February until now, I've gone through 3 jobs. Well, I'm about to be on my 3rd job. So yeah, it seems like I'm a job hopper, but I was at my last job for 20 years, y'all. So I'm not technically a job hopper, although I've had a lot of, side jobs and part-time jobs and hustles and all that. But I was at my last job for 20 years. So anyway, I'm about to leave the job that I'm working at now. November 3rd, I will be officially starting my new job. And the reason being is that, remember I said I really just did not want to drive that big bus. So when I saw the opportunity to become a mini bus driver, I jumped at the opportunity. So let me explain. So I want to say back in either May or June, because my interview for the current job that I'm at now was the last day in May 31st. And around that same time, I can't remember which job I applied for first, but I had applied for another company. Well, the company that I'm about to start working for, I had applied for them as well. But the job that I'm at now with the school district, they moved a little faster and I got hired there. So by the time someone reached out to me from the job that I'm about to start working at, I told them that I had already been hired at the job that I'm working at now. And, so I never moved forward with them. So fast forward to a few weeks ago, I saw the mini bus driver position posted. I applied for it. So 2 or 3 days went by and I hadn't heard anything. So I reached out to them, and it was like my current job, he was like, I had already gotten my CDL. I've had my CDL permit since July, but I had added the school bus endorsement, and he was like, we really need you in a bus, and I'm like, I really need to be in a bus because the money is better, but I know I don't really want to drive this bus. So then I saw the mini school bus thing, so I applied for that. And I'm like, he's really pressing me to start my training for this CDL. This company has not gotten back to me. Let me call them. So it was only really like 2 or 3 days, but I'm glad I called. And I spoke directly to the supervisor. And she was able to pull my application, and she looked at it and she was like, for some reason it was taken out of the candidate pool. So she looked again and she was like, well, do you live in Hanover, Maryland, or do you live in Hanover, Pennsylvania? So I'm like, I'm living in Hanover, Pennsylvania. And I don't think they have like AI. You know how some companies, they have AI reading your applications? I don't think that's the case. I think the recruiter just looked at it and saw that I had a Maryland, my phone number has a Maryland area code. And even though my resume says Hanover, Pennsylvania, in combination with the Maryland area code, she probably saw Hanover and just automatically thought Hanover, Maryland, which would have put me way too far out of the way to get the job. So she took me out of the candidate pool. The supervisor was able to pull it up. She saw that I was in Hanover, PA, you know, all of that stuff. So she said that she was going to reach out to the recruiter, have her put me back into the candidate pool, and we would go from there. So that's what what happened, and here we are. So I go in for the interview after they, get the ball rolling with everything, and they do my they check my driving record, and they make me give them my Maryland driver's license number as well, so they can run my my driving record in Maryland. They called me in for an interview. So I went in for an interview. The interview went well, and then we get to the money piece. And she saved that part for last, and she was like, this is the part that I like. This is the part I like discussing with everybody. And when she's telling me the money piece, I'm like severely disappointed, right? Because for one, I will be starting out with them as a van driver because I still don't have my CDL yet. And I will be starting with them as a van driver, but it's going to be $2 less than what I'm being paid now to drive the van with my current job. And she wanted to start me at $3 less. And I'm like, if I'm barely keeping my head above water now, at the rate that I'm being paid now, it's no way I could do a $3 cut. But the issue that she was facing is because I've only really technically have like 2 months, especially at the time of the interview. It's like more like 3 months now, or closer to 3 months. But at the time, it was only really like 2 months of commercial driving experience, working for a transportation company. So she was really supposed to start me $3 less than what I'm making now. However, she did take my Instacart, DoorDash, and everything into consideration, and she was able to justify giving me an extra $1, which technically is only really $1 decrease, and I'll explain that soon. So then we started talking about, okay, fine. So then we started discussing the money that I would be making once I got the CDL. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get the amount that I saw posted. And she was like, she still could only start me. She was starting me like $2 and like 50. Wait a minute, let me get it right. No, $2.49 less than what I thought I would get paid to drive the minibus, right? Again, because I don't have the experience working for an actual transportation company, driving a company vehicle. Like, although I've been doing like Instacart and stuff like that since 2018, and technically that's commercial driving experience, I'm more of an independent contractor and I drive my own vehicle. So they needed to experience me driving a company vehicle, which I only have two months of it, right? So again, she was supposed to start me $3 less than what I thought I was supposed to be making, but she took my DoorDash Instacart into consideration and gave me the extra $1. Now, the reason why I say it's only really, instead of a $2 pay cut, is a $1 pay cut, is because they have a bonus that they pay out monthly, and the bonus is so for every day that you are not in an avoidable accident, meaning an accident that you could have prevented, you get a bonus for that. And every day that you don't call out, you get a bonus for that. So like an attendance bonus. So and it pays out once a month, and those bonuses together equal out to an extra $1 per hour. So I'm thinking about, the time that I've been driving for my current job. I've never missed a day. I've never called out. I've never even had a scheduled day off, and I haven't been in any accidents. So if I was working for the new company now, I would have already had 2 months of my bonus. So if you look at it, that way, that equals out to like an extra $1 an hour. So when I start out as the van driver, I'll be making like $2 less than what I'm making now. And when I start out with the school bus, basically $1 less than what I'm making now if you factor in the bonuses. And when I start with the school bus, I'll be making like $1.49 if you factor in the bonuses less than what I expected to make. But the reason why I say I stand corrected is because about a week after I did my last video, the one that I said I feel like it was a bait and switch, I went back and I looked at the job posting, and it did have a range. It said between this number and that number is what the pay would be. So unless they went back and changed it, I'm going to chalk it up to maybe I just saw the top dollar amount and I went with the best case scenario, and I just completely blocked out of my mind the lower amount. I'm going to chalk that up to me forgetting that they did have that range, that salary range. And I believe that that's probably is the case because they are very thorough. Like, they are a very I'm supposed to make a stop anyway. They are a very thorough company, which is, I'm going to go into that shortly. But so working with the company that I'm about to start working for, to drive their mini bus, I will be technically hourly making $2. Well, it's going to be only $2.25 more than what I'm making now, which will be $4.25 more than what I'll be making when I first start with them driving their van, but it's going to be $2.10 less than what I would be making to drive the big bus if I stayed at my current company, technically hourly. But when you factor in that attendance bonus and the safety bonus, I'm really going to be making like $1.10 less than what I would have been making if I stayed with my current company and drove the big bus. So what made me decide to switch to the company, even though I'll be making less than what I intended to make, is because the number one deciding factor, and it's things I like about both companies. Like I love the fact that the company that I'm with now, I love that the yard is 4 minutes from my house. I like my coworkers. I even like my supervisor. He seems to be a really good guy. They're not the best with communication or training, but you know, they're very likable people. Neighborhood Insurance Baby has developed his, rapport with a lot of them. He likes them. It's one who he calls his sugar cookie. So, I like it. And I like that my route is close. Like everything is really close to my house. When I get my new route, I'm not sure about my van route with the new company, but my bus route is going to be a little further out. But what the deciding factor for me was, the number one deciding factor was that I really just did not want to drive that big bus. And I feel like if you're going to be transporting children, including my own, because my son goes to work with me, so he's on the vehicle with me. If you're going to be transporting children, you really should be driving something that you are comfortable driving. I would not want my children being transported on a bus by a driver who really was uncomfortable driving that bus. So that was the number one deciding factor. Then number two, if you guys have watched my previous videos about the current job, with the current job, I cannot get unemployment during the summer and the winter breaks and things like that. With this new job, I can get unemployment in the summer and the winter. And they pay out, so they have a $500 yearly bonus that they pay out in 3 increments. So she said they already paid the $200. They paid the first $200. They have another $200 coming up, and then at the end of the year they pay $100. So I would be entitled to the last $300. I missed out on the first $200, but I would get that last, the $300. One of my concerns with driving the big bus is that, we can't use our GPS. So we have printed directions. And to me, it makes more sense than to put GPSs on the buses or allow us to use our phones for GPSs only. Because to have drivers driving and have to read the directions, that to me is a huge distraction. But I guess this is the way it has been for years, and so maybe they know what they're doing, but it just seems like to me that's more of a distraction. But with the new company, I will have an aide on the bus. So the aide will be monitoring the students. All I'm focusing on is driving. They will also have someone to read the directions to me, turn by turn directions. I don't know if it's the aide who will be reading reading the directions to me turn by turn, or if they stick someone else on the bus to read the directions turn by turn. I don't know. But the fact that I'm not going to have to worry about the directions and driving at the same time, or tending to the children and driving at the same time, that's a huge relief for me. Also, because I will be driving the minibus, it seats pretty much the same amount of children. I think it does seat exactly the same amount of, passengers as the van that I'm driving now. So it'll be essentially the same amount of stops, essentially the same amount of students. But whereas most buses, they pull up to stops and they have to remember different stops, I won't be pulling up to stops. I will be going directly to the students' houses, kind of like I do now, pulling the driveway or, whatever. So in terms of the way things work, it'll be kind of similar to driving the van. Now the vehicle, maybe a little different, but in terms of the way, stuff like that, it's kind of similar to driving a van. And to start out with them, like I said, I'll be driving the van. I like the fact that I can bring my van home with me. So, it's starting to get cold. And instead of having to take neighborhood insurance baby out the vehicle twice, because right now, I have to put them in my car. Then we have to drive to the yard. And then when I get to the yard, I have to take them out again to put them in my van. But when I start with the new company, my van comes home with me. So all I got to do is take them out the house and put them in the van, and we be on our way. I like their login system a little better as far as their, we have to pre-trip the van and pre-trip the bus. I like their login system better. Because, that's another thing. I was showed certain things when I went this past Tuesday. I went for a driving assessment, so I'll tell you about that in a minute. What else? I think the next point that I was going to is that I like the fact that they're very thorough. So, let's start with what happened a few weeks ago. So I had to do I had to do my fingerprinting again. I had to do my child abuse clearance again. And I didn't have to do a full physical again, but I did have to do my drug testing again. And I'm going to tell you why I did the quotation marks. So I get there to do the drug testing, and I had neighborhood insurance baby with me, like I did when I did everything. When I did my DOT physical the first time for the current job, he was with me. When I went to give my urine sample, he was right outside the door. I went in, he was standing there with the lady. I gave my sample, came right back out. He was with me. So when I went this time, the lady said, if you're getting a urinalysis, we can't have a child in the building. So I'm like, I was just here in August, and he was here with me. So she looked me up, and she was like, you had a urinalysis, but you didn't get drug tested. She said that the current company that I work for, they don't do drug testing, which completely didn't make sense to me. But I'm like, I'm not, okay, whatever. So when I left out the building, I texted my supervisor, and I said I had to reschedule my drug test because they said he couldn't be with me. And I said, it just doesn't even make sense, all that. So she called me, and she said she was not too far from the area. She was leaving a meeting in the area, and she could swing by, sit in the lobby with him while I go and get it done. So she came and did that, which I loved it. And he seems to like her. He has been asking about her every day since, and this has been two weeks ago, right? So she came and she sat in the lobby with him, and I went in the back and I gave my urine sample, and I asked the lady in the back, I said, what all would a job be testing your urine for if they're not testing for drugs? And she said blood, protein, and sugar, which is how a lot of people find out that they are diabetic. Which, yes, it makes sense that a company would want to make sure you're not diabetic, all of that kind of stuff. But it totally doesn't make sense that, especially a school district, would have you driving children and not test you for drugs. So I'm like, either the lady wasn't telling the truth and just decided to give me a hard way to go that day, or it's a little crazy that I've been driving school children for basically 3 months and never been tested for drugs. But anyway, I don't know if she wasn't being truthful, or if that's really the case. I'm gonna leave that alone. But so like I said, I was doing a lot of my clearances and stuff again, and my current supervisor was like, well, your mandated reporter training, you don't have to take that again. You can just log in. If you remember your login from when you did it before, you can log in and just print a copy of the certificate and send it to me. Or if you don't remember your logins, you could probably just say, forgot login, and can send it to you. And I'm like, but I never did it. And it's a 3-hour, so I would remember doing that. I never did a mandated reporter training for the current job. So she was like, oh, really? She found that very weird. I kind of found it weird too, because I thought about it, and in order for my mother to get approved to be Neighborhood Insurance Babies daycare provider when I was working at the other job, she had to do the mandated reporter training. But I didn't have to do it with the current job, so I had to do it with this job. Another thing, so like I said, this Tuesday that just passed, I went in for a driver's evaluation. So I went in, I was in a van with, he's a trainer or a previous trainer or whatever, and he critiqued my driving before we started. He told me some policies that they have. He walked me through how they pre-trip their vans, which I had to figure that out on my own with my current company. He said that, he was going to be asking me what 3 things meant, like the term goal and the 5-second rule, the 4-second rule and the 15-second rule. Like, he was just testing me on all of this stuff, right? And then at some point during our evaluation, he said, I can't think of the term that he used, but it's like whatever the term was, he was like, okay, start it now. And what it was is he wanted me to walk him through everything I was doing. Like, okay, I'm slowing down because I'm coming up on a light, or putting on my right turn signal because I'm about to get in the right lane. Like he wanted me to describe what I was doing step by step. It was like in total an hour and 40 minutes, and he critiqued me, and then he made me, do the parking lot, and testing me at the railroads and just different things, which I thought was very good. They didn't make me do that with the current job. So I really do like how thorough they are. Another thing is when I get my van, I fill up right there at the yard. What else? And I think I'm going to like my supervisor. I met a couple of my coworkers. They seem cool or whatever, but so I think I'm going to like it. I really do like how thorough they are. I am praying that I get a good set of students. for my sake and Neighborhood Insurance Baby's sake, I'm praying that I have a decent route. I do my first behind the wheel training next week, and where the current company does it for like an hour at a time, they do it for 3, which I'm kind of glad, because let's just get it, over with or whatever. I really want to hurry up and get this CDL. I'm going to jump for joy when I do, because driving is just not my lane. So this is a certification that I'm really going to have to work for. A licensing that I'm really going to have to work for. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where I am. And when I crunch the numbers, and I added in that extra $1 for the bonuses or whatever, it is what it is. Like, I always find a way to supplement, and God is always sending some money from somewhere. So I just have to figure out the money piece. But I think the peace of mind that I'm going to get from driving the minibus versus that big bus is worth the pay cut. And like I said in another video, this is only temporary. So for now, it's just going to do what it do. So I'm about to end this. I had to go. My cousin drove into town from North Carolina, and my mother's side of the family, they are cookers, okay? And he owns a smoke shop, and he came down with his smoker and his truck and all of that, and he had some food. So my cousin from North Carolina, so I had to go into town to get me a Neighborhood Insurance Baby some food. And now I'm back up in Pennsylvania, and I'm about to resume my batches, because I was doing my batches before I rode down. And I will be back with another video, because we have to talk about, I'm gonna do a video about good money and how it's subjective. So that's going to be my new video, unless something else pop up that I feel like I need to cover first. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update on what was going on with me, and let you know that they did not have invisible fine print. I think I just forgot that I read the fine print, because I was looking at the best case scenario money wise. So until next time, it's the Neighborhood Insurance Lady. Neighborhood Insurance Baby isn't in here with me. It was the Neighborhood Insurance Lady, and I'm wishing you love, laughter, life insurance, pieces of the puzzle, your children being transported to and from school safely, jobs that you love, the money that you deserve, good food, and just anything else that your heart desires. Talk to you soon.